Hi, this is AJ. Welcome to episode 51 of Here's What I Watched. In this episode, I want to talk about the Disney Plus show, The Acolyte. I really wanted to like this show, and when I first saw the trailer, it really made me want to see the show. It seemed like a show that had a lot of potential. And as a fan of Carrie Ann Moss, I was really intrigued at the idea of seeing her show up in a Star Wars show, although she ended up having a much smaller part in this than the trailer led me to believe, which was really disappointing. It was an interesting idea for a show, but the actual execution of it was not anywhere near as good as it could have been, and there were moments when the writing was downright terrible. There were some things in the show that worked, but there weren't enough things that worked, and they didn't work well enough to ever get me to the point where I could really recommend the show. I would actually rank this show at the bottom out of all the Star Wars shows I've seen so far, even below Obi-Wan Kenobi. I wouldn't call The Acolyte, the show itself, woke the way a lot of people are, but I do think it's a shame that the creator, Leslye Headland, has put so much emphasis on checking all sorts of diversity boxes and not nearly enough emphasis on finding people, especially the creative people behind the camera, who know what the hell they're doing. You want to check boxes? Fine, but find people who know what the hell they're doing. This show has so many poorly constructed character arcs and characters with motives that don't make any sense. There are setups that don't get paid off properly. Flashbacks that don't really explain things properly. There are times when they're giving me what's supposed to be an explanation and I'm just left with more questions than I had to begin with. And there are so many key plot points that just aren't thought out very well. And there are some moments that are meant to be dramatic where someone's turning to the dark side or someone's turning away from the dark side, and I really felt nothing in those moments because none of it made any sense to me. And the dialogue wasn't very good either. None of the characters in the whole season had any lines that really stayed with me at all. There were some very good fight scenes in the show, and there were some we weren't really quite allowed to see, which was a little frustrating, but there were some good fight scenes in the show. They just weren't good enough to get me to the point where I could quite recommend the show, unfortunately.